Okay, so what we are going to do today is obviously Azure DevOps. We'll dive into that. But before that, let me see how much you guys remember for certain things. Okay. I think we already talked about SDLC last time, right? So you guys understand what you do from SDLC standpoint, who does what in SDLC. So in IT, right, there are very different roles in IT: project manager, business analyst, quality assurance, QA folks, developers, then you have business users. You all are working together to deliver the software projects generally. Okay, and everybody has a different task and different role to play. But you as a QA, you are engaged in pretty much all the different phases of delivery. It might be you are doing different activities during the SDLC, but you always focus on the quality assurance side of things. Okay. Let's understand how the team works, right? Overall. Because now we're going to dive into the testing tools and software development tools and various different tools. You need to get familiar with those and see what are the things that team utilizes. Not just you, but overall as a team, and how that fits into the overall development process, overall SDLC process. Okay. So we are talking about implementation phase, right? Now we are in the implementation phase. The developers are doing the coding. They start coding, writing the software. So generally, when they are writing the software, they are writing the software on their laptop, just like the laptop I have, or computer, personal desktop, or whatever desktop they have. That's where they will be writing the code for individual modules. Now, if you look at the system design document, right, there are several different components into the design. So you have manage lender module, you have manage users module, you have credit application. So there might be 2 developers, 3 developers, depending on the teams. I have seen as many as 40 to 50 developers working on the IT projects, large projects, right? Few $1 million. In a small team, there are probably 2 to 3 developers working on it. And they'll be given basically one module. Let's say somebody is working on managed lenders, somebody is working on managed users, and so forth. So they'll be writing the code on their laptops. Okay. So once they are done, it doesn't matter whether they are using Agile process or they are using the waterfall. Okay, but they are given certain task or certain piece of functionality, they will write the code for. Okay. So once they are done with the development, let's say end of 2 weeks, Agile we are talking about, and end of 2 weeks, they will need to actually test certain things from software. So they do some testing as well. Okay, but ultimately what they will do is on a daily basis, they will develop the piece of code and they will deploy to some type of server where everybody's code comes together. Okay, so that is typically a development server or development environment. I think Dilip went over different environments, right? You have development environment, you have testing environment, you have production environment, and so forth. Environment is nothing but a bunch of servers sitting, and that's where everybody is working on deploying the different types of code for different purpose. So developers are using development server or servers for the development purpose. So they will write the code, they will deploy it end of the day on a daily basis, and then somebody will be doing some kind of testing from the development.
So is it a public server or the company server?
No, these are typically within the company, not accessible from outside, because only development team needs it.
Okay.
Nobody else, not users are not accessing this development environment. Because these guys are writing the code and continuously deploying the code on that server.
Okay.
It's not a stable environment, so it can break any time because it's a development environment. Okay. So once the development is done, or once end of 2 weeks, they are ready to deliver the software to the testing, they will deploy the code to the testing servers. So that's where the QAs come in. Okay. So they will not give you access to the development environment or development servers, but you'll be testing in the test environments.
testing server.
Yep.
Different server, right?
different set of servers.
Okay,
It could be one server, could be more than one.
okay.
It's an environment, test environment. Okay, so, but development team will move the code. They'll say, oh, we tested enough, and I think we feel like everything is working. Now you as a QA come in and you please go and test it from the functionality standpoint. Okay. All right, so once the QAs are done with the testing in the test environment, development team comes in again and they will move the code to the UAT environment. That's where the users come in. And they will do some testing as well from the business standpoint.
Okay,
Okay, all the processes, functionality, they basically. Remember, you are doing different testing here.
okay.
The UAT is for user acceptance
User
testing,
acceptance.
right? So they do that type of testing in that environment. And once that is done, everything is good. User says, yep, I'm good with the code. Let's go and deploy to the actual production environment. You have a
Why
question?
is UAT and test environment different?
Because
Test environment, there will be testing scenarios of UAT also, right?
no, because this is generally in the big companies. In a bigger company like Nationwide, they don't want users to come in into unstable environment.
Okay.
Because so remember, development environment, they are deploying code on daily basis or every few minutes, like Facebook, right? Facebook does deployment every 2 to 3 minutes to the production. So remember, they are moving from here to here to here to here. They might have so many environments to do different things. Okay, but in the companies like Nationwide, you have developers working in there, testers, they only work with the test environment. When the software is ready, then they will give to the users in a different set of
So
environment.
test environment, they don't test the whole product, right?
No, you as a QA, you test it.
Okay.
Your job is to make sure the quality of the software is good. You give thumbs up here,
Yeah,
then only you say, okay,
That's
users,
right.
please come in and test it.
yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
Okay,
But in the big companies, they typically have separate environment for users as well as testers.
Okay.
Now, in a smaller company, this two could be same.
Yeah.
Okay, because you might spend maybe a whole sprint testing in the test environment. Then users will come in maybe on Friday and they will basically do the testing. And they say, yep, software is good, and we'll move to the production. Okay.
So, I'm just curious, how do companies come up with people in the UAT environment? Do they hire people or is this just sample people?
No. So remember, who gives the requirement? So requirement doesn't come from air, right? Software requirements, like Airflow. Who provided that requirement? Right? Whoever provided, they probably want to test it because they understand what they give, and they are the ones actually doing the testing. So it could be maybe out of they say, okay, we need the dealer to actually test this thing. Dealers. So they might sign up maybe 1 or 2 dealer companies, and they will have like 2 to 3 users from each company to actually log in and do the dealer side of things.
Gotcha.
Then they will sign up a couple of lenders to let's test it out from the lender standpoint.
Okay.
So they will have actual lender companies, basically a lender users log in and do the testing. Okay, so it's a kind of like a pilot or subset of the users are testing actually business processes within the software. Does it make sense, Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so all this activity happens, right? So that's kind of like a general development process, whether you use Agile or Waterfall, doesn't really matter. But this is the normal process that happens before you release the code to the production environment. Now we are talking about testing tools and those type of things, right? So does anybody remember what type of testing developers do?
Functional.
So developers is testing,
Unit.
White box text
it's a unit testing.
unit, yeah.
It's called unit testing because they are writing small piece of code and they are testing that piece of code. So they actually write a code within the code as a unit test. Okay, it's actually the coding they do to write the actual code, to test out the actual code. Okay, so that's the unit testing. And for unit testing, so they do, basically there are certain tools available, which I'll talk about. But once, so they do integration test in the actual on the actual server. Remember, developers are writing marriage lender, they are writing on different laptops, but they have to test everything together. That's where the development servers, somebody basically from the testing team, generally it's not testing team, the development team. Generally, it's a developer lead or senior developer. They will log into the development environment or development servers, and they will say, oh, if I log in, do I see my home page? Do I get to the dealer page? So they test it, integrate, it's called integration testing. Basically, all the modules fits together, the code works appropriately. Remember, all three developers are writing different code. They are not testing other person's code. They are not testing, hey, if I log in, then can I go to this module or not? So somebody has to do that type of testing, which is called integration testing, making sure all the components work together. Okay.
So multiple unit called integration testing. So it's testing multiple units.
Testing multiple things, right? So here, only small pieces are being tested as a unit of functionality. Here, somebody will test, okay, can I submit a credit application, and can I go to the lender page or not? Can the lender access the same application or not? Okay? So that's kind of testing. But again, they are not doing like a testing as a QA. They are testing, hey, does everything work together end to end? Do I get any page not found error type of thing, or am I getting those type of errors? Basically. Okay, so that's the integration testing. Once the integration testing, they give thumbs up to integration testing, then they will give you the code. Okay.
So
now,
developer do that, right? Integration, only developer do that.
developers.
Okay.
Yeah, development lead or senior developer, whoever is available, they will do it.
Is that why you call black box testing, whatever it is?
Oh,
Now, there are white box and
White box, so
That's
like,
right.
yeah.
so there is a white box and black box.
They know.
It's a
coding.
white box.
So black box is you don't know anything about the code. You don't know anything about the code. So what type of testing the unit and integration is?
It's white.
White.
It's a white box because they understand the code structure, everything work, how everything works. And so it's a white box. Both are considered white box. Okay, so now you have the code. What are the different types of testing that we talked about from the quality assurance standpoint? System testing. What else? What is it?
sanity, smoke, system testing, regression testing.
Okay, he's reading from the book, so which is a good thing. It's an open book, so yeah. So smoke system,
testing, okay.
regression, all different types of. Well, you can list out everything, whatever you have in the book, right? But these are kind of like a main type of testing terminologies you will come across. System testing, functional testing, regression testing, smoke testing, and so forth. I hope you understand what those testings are, right? Different types of testings are. And once you go, then UAT testing happens in the user acceptance environment or whatever UAT server. Now I listed out performance tests as well here. Okay. Why they don't do performance tests here? Why they do it in the UAT environment? There's a reason for it. Okay. So performance test. Remember, what are we doing in the performance test?
Stress, load.
Stress, load, all kind of things, right? So generally, why they choose this environment? The environment is more similar to the production environment. Okay, so this environment is generally, if production has 4 servers, then UAT will have generally same environment, 4 servers here. Because users are testing from the UAT standpoint, and they want some performance, they want to basically run end-to-end process here. Now, test environment might have 2 servers only. Everything is tied to the money, right? You don't need 4 servers here to test out end-to-end flows. So performance testing is generally done in the UAT or production support, production-like environment, basically.
Is the software more stable on that phase?
Yeah, if it's not stable, then you're gonna find some bunch of errors here, basically. So this one has to be stable. If you are doing performance testing, that means your code has to be tested thoroughly, as well as it has to pass the UAT as well. Okay, then you will do the performance testing. Some companies have a separate performance testing environment. Bigger companies can afford it. Separate performance testing environment where they are doing performance testing every release, every major release.
Right.
So they might have another environment called performance testing only. So you can separate out these two. Okay. And finally, production. Do you do any testing? Production.
This production is in the real time.
Not real time, but there is some type of testing that you will do minimal. Because you don't want to create any new dealers or anything in production. That's not what it's going to impact all the users.
Okay.
So you will do minimal testing. Hey, does the site comes up? Can I get to this page? Can I do some searches basically, which is not impacting any data type of thing.
So very soft testing.
Very minimal testing. Because you are not a user, its whole purpose of production is to use for the live users. Okay. So you will not do much testing. But code is deployed here and you want to see that, hey, site is coming up, everything is deployed properly. You might do some smoke testing at that point. That's all.
Okay.
So other thing, they're not supposed to have a major bug on the page, right?
Oh, this production, I mean, there shouldn't be any major bug here. Because users will start using the software. So it needs to be actually, there shouldn't be any major bug, yes. You can't have pages not showing up, or if I search for dealer and users show up, that's a big no-no. That's where people get fired, okay, from the quality assurance standpoint. Because you did not do your job, now you slept, I mean, imagine, Amazon does searches and it's some all weird result shows up.
Yeah.
That's a big problem for a company.
Right.
Okay.
So does it mean developers are involved at all these points?
Yeah, developers are, who does the deployment here? It's development team. You don't do QA from the QA standpoint. They are involved from moving. So that's the DevOps processes, right? Development and operations. So they move the code from here to here to here to here. They are the ones actually doing all this activity, development team. You as a QA, you are focused on testing side of things. Some smoke testing, you might help out on the UAT as well, or with the work with the users and basically help them out for testing, completing the testing. Set up some test data, right? Because all the test data needs to be set up in these environments. So you will help them for the setting up. You might help them train as well, because users may not know how to go and access certain things. You work with them, you help them out. Okay. So any question on this process? This needs to be clear because this is a very basic process. Who does what and what point you come in. I think if you have a clear picture, then I think you will be able to pick up any additional parts, basically, as we talk about.
Okay, so we have the maintenance in a SDLC cycle, right?
Yeah.
So do we do all these
So
process?
yeah, remember the maintenance. What we do, if it's a small thing, right? They will fix the code and they will deploy. But if it's a major feature, then you repeat the SDLC,
Okay.
right? I mean, so if it's a small things, like a data issues. Generally, maintenance is more like a data issue. So if the dealer number or what do you say, a dealer address is not being saved properly, maybe one of the zip code field is not being saved,
Okay.
right? So they might say, oh, let's go and correct it
Okay.
because there is a bug in the system and it's not saving that information properly.
Mostly maintenance.
Maintenance,
low
is
priority.
small item.
Okay.
Anything
So
impacting functionality, they have to repeat the cycle. So if they want to add a new feature, they will come here, development, unit testing, integration, and follow the SDLC.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's see what tools and technologies, right? We are talking about. So you will see that these two are SDLC type of tools or application lifecycle management tools, ALM tools. So in order to maintain manage the overall DevOps process, those two, Azure DevOps and Jira, are used. And we will dive into it so that you understand further. But for testing purpose, NUnit and JUnit, they are the ones, so it's actually a piece of libraries or code that they can use to write additional unit testing code. Okay, you will never use that, NUnit and JUnit. Only developers will use them to create the unit test and integration test. Okay. These are the general type of tools that you are, from the quality assurance standpoint, you will focus on. So obviously, Microsoft Office, you are using that, right, to document the test cases and anything else. But Azure DevOps, Jira, QC, ALM, these are again ALM tools, application lifecycle management tools, right? UFT, QTP, Ruby Cucumber, Catalan, all these are automation testing tools.
Okay.
So you can use that. SOAP UI, Postman, there is another tool called Postman. We will take a look at Postman as well in this class as we move along. So those are for testing tools. So it will help you test certain backend components, which you need to do these days. So you need to know how to utilize these tools in order to get the work done, from smoke testing, all these things. Yeah. There are some performance testing tools, load runner, JMeter. They are available. In order to use those tools, you have to learn the scripting. Okay, you have to learn the scripting. We're not going to cover in this camp, but I'll point you if you want to learn like a JMeter. This tool you cannot get hands on. You will not be able to download or install or anything, but JMeter you can. It's an open source tool.
Okay.
So it's available freely. JMeter. How do I test 500 user load? That's what this tool will help you to do the performance and load testing. You can simulate 500 users logging into the system and see how the system behaves, basically. Okay, so that's what this is. Now, in order to use these tools, there are certain technologies you need to learn, like XML, JSON, some HTML part of it. So we will cover that as well. Some SQL side of things. So we'll cover as a supplemental to this, because you need to know that in order to do some of this type of testing, or you use these tools basically. Okay, or to do quality assurance side of activities. Any question so far what we discussed?
So how many tools we're gonna learn here in this class?
So obviously DevOps,
Yeah,
Jira, you will
Jira.
get hands-on
Okay.
on those two.
Okay.
We have video. We used to teach this QCLM. So we do have videos. If you know one of these tools, then you can easily pick up the other one. Okay. So we have previous session recordings and other things which you can watch it. It's like a 2 to 3 hour video. You can watch it at home and pick up that one. But these two are the most popular right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Nationwide is very big. It was big on QCLM, but I think they are going away. Most of the companies are using either DevOps or Jira. Now, again, there are thousands of tools in the market, but what I'm saying is 70% of the companies use either one of these two. Maybe 10% still uses QCLM, and the remaining open source tools, there are other tools used by other companies. Okay. But SOAP UI, Postman will get you a lot of hands-on as well. Cucumber, you will get hands-on. Now, Ruby is a programming language, so we'll get you some overview of how this thing works. But as I said, I mean, there is a whole other camp that we conduct because you cannot learn the programming in the given time frame. Okay. UFT, QTP, we used to teach that as a automation testing, but we will cover Catalan as an automation testing tool, which is not listed here. Okay.
What is
Catalan.
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 This was again.
Water. It's called Water.
Water.
Yeah. It's a web application testing in Ruby. web application testing in Ruby.
Okay.
Okay, that's a full name.
Okay.
It's called water. It says what is, but it's called water. Yeah, it's a salariable water. One of the companies use either one of the, these are web drivers. So it's a no-brainer. Once we go through the technology stack of this one, then you understand where they fit in. Obviously, this requires programming knowledge as well of Ruby. Basically. Yeah. Okay, any other question? So we talked about SQL, XML, HTML, JSON, those some of those you need. SQL you will get a little bit hands-on, what you need to know from the QA standpoint, how you can run some basic commands and stuff. HTML, we will cover that in the class as well, so you understand the structure, because it's important for if you are doing automation testing, you need to understand how the HTML works and what those things are. JSON is a file format or data exchange format. XML is a data exchange format. If you are doing the web service testing, which we will talk, I think probably maybe a couple of weeks down, you need to pick up those things, those technologies. Okay. All right. So everybody good? All right. So this is from the tools standpoint, right? Now this DevOps Jira, they are mainly geared towards the agile processes. So what you have is more like a waterfall type of document, right? Airflow. That's more like this is what you will get after 2 months of somebody writing the requirements. They'll say, "Yep, go take this 200-page document or 30-page document and read it and develop the software based on it." Okay, but these tools are geared towards agile processes. Agile. 2 weeks iterations. So let's understand some terminology. What is that we do in the agile process, and then we'll dive into the actual tool so that it makes more sense for you. Okay. Any question here? All right. So let's come back here. All right. So let me just cover some basics of what happens in the agile process. Give you some terminology background, because these are the same terminology you're gonna see in the tool itself. Okay, and so forth. Okay, so this chart represents the agile framework. It's a framework. So what's the meaning of the framework? You don't have to implement the whole thing. You can implement framework. So you can implement parts and pieces of what you need from the company standpoint. So if I take this process, agile process, and go to the next, compare with what Nationwide has implemented as agile, it will look a little bit different. Okay, so Nationwide, what they have implemented agile standpoint is a hybrid process. They took some parts from the waterfall, some parts from the agile, and they implemented their own development process. They come up with their own. So what they do Nationwide wise, the requirements document, it has to be something like that, what you read, what you have. Then the development process, they execute in the agile manner. Every 2 weeks, build new functionality. But requirement, they will take just like a paper document. They'll say, please sign off. Even it takes 6 months, please sign off on the requirements. Now we'll develop the software using the agile. So companies can do all different things. Okay, so this is more of a guideline or framework for the agile. But they can implement in development, or they can implement starting with the requirements to the delivery. Okay, so it just depends on the company. But it starts from here, right? So agile process starts from here. Okay, so what happens? So what's the phases of SDLC? Planning.
Planning first, then
Analysis. So let's start the analysis here, because planning, you are working on the project. That means project is approved, and you are working from that standpoint. Okay, so this happens in the if you compare with the SDLC, right? I'm just trying to point it out here. So this is kind of more like a happens as part of the analysis. So you have person called product owner here, who is nothing but somebody working with the business users or stakeholders and collecting all the requirements. Okay, that's the call. That's the person. The role is called product owner. Now it could be a business analyst doing the work. So business analyst, I can simply say BA. This guy, you can call it in general term as a business analyst. In the Agile world, they call it product owner. Okay. So same thing, BA or product owner, same terminology, just they are just collecting the requirements. Their job is to collect the requirements. And they collect the requirements and they put it in the document in the tool. It could be DevOps, could be Jira or whatever it is. Now, this list of requirements in the Agile world, whatever requirements they collect, they typically call that as a user story. Okay, so there are three things in the Agile world: user story, you have feature, and you have epic. So epic is nothing. So what this one is, like a features can have multiple stories or multiple requirements. It's a grouping. I'm just explaining the terminal. So it's a grouping. So you have what do you have? You have managed users.
Okay.
Right. That's a feature. We call it as a feature in the Agile terms. In the waterfall document, we were calling module. Right. Then you have a bunch of requirements. Search user by username, search or add a user, create. All those can be different user stories. Okay, and so that grouping and this feature can be managed user.
Okay.
Now, if you have a high level, so this is epic as an epic, you can call it. If you have separate higher level grouping of the users with something else, then you can name it as an epic basically. But we can simply call it as Rflow. Think of it, Rflow as a big epic.
Yeah.
Then you have features, different features, manage user, manage lender, all those things. Then each of them will have different user stories.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what that listing is. So this guy, product owner, keeps collecting what user wants, all these different stories or requirements, and they all the running list of all the stories for the project is called product backlog. They keep documenting it, basically what user want. Okay, it's a running list. Okay, now this activity happens throughout. Doesn't matter, it's a 2-week sprint or 3-week sprint, but they keep working with the users and keep documenting them in a tool like DevOps and so forth. It's called product backlog. But remember, in the Agile world, our sprint is generally 2 to 3 weeks. We have to deliver something to the business over 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So what happens is, so let's assume our sprint is 2 weeks sprint. Okay, so 2 weeks. Here it says 1 to 4 weeks. Let's just put it 2 weeks. Okay. So, and sprint typically starts from Monday to next Friday. So this not one Friday, second Friday. So it goes till, that's a 2-week sprint. Right. Within 2 weeks, you have to complete all these things. So you have the requirement here, right, upfront, but then what other activities you are doing? You are doing design, you are doing development, you are doing testing, UAT, and delivery to the production within 2 weeks. So on Monday mornings, I'm telling you what actually we do in the Agile sprint at work. Monday morning, all the team member gathers, they look at the product backlog item, basically, and they will look at it. What can we deliver over next 2 weeks? So they will say, for manage user, let's pick manage users and manage lender, 2 modules. We can deliver only such capabilities for those 2. Because we have 2 developers, one can work on manage user search, second one can work on manage lender search, and we can deliver only the searches for those 2 modules. So they will pick out certain stories. Okay, so they will pick out 4 stories. Let's say they pick out 4 stories or 4 requirements to deliver over next 2 weeks. Okay, so that becomes part of the sprint backlog, because my week sprint is 2 weeks. What are 4 stories I picked out as a team to deliver over next 2 weeks? That is called sprint backlog. So we had a product backlog, which is running list of all 50 stories or 500 stories. We picked out 4, that is called sprint backlog. Okay, so that's the terminology. Make sure you understand this terminology. It's very important because those tools are built on this terminology. So sprint backlog. Now, the meeting that I'm discussing is could be 2 hours to 4 hours. Okay, on Monday mornings. Maybe it starts at 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, whatever. That is typically called sprint planning meeting. It's a planning, what we can do as a team, what we can deliver as a team. So that happens Monday morning, and they'll pick out sprint backlog item on Monday morning. All right, so only thing they did here is 4 stories, but they have to design the items, right? Because once they pick out the requirements to work on, they will say, okay, what is the next thing? So they work as a team, and they will draw out the designs as well together. So you as a QA, you are sitting in that meeting. So that you understand exactly how they're gonna build the search screen. Okay, so they will actually draw out on the piece of board, basically, and they will say, this is what the search screen looks like. So this is what the search screen looks like with the box, and they will have a search text, and they will have results, and this one will be the column. Just like what you saw on the Airflow application, but they have to design. They will design right there while everybody is involved, so that you understand from the QA standpoint what is that they are building.
Okay.
Developers know what exactly they need to build.
Okay.
And business will also know what are they building, so that what they are going to deliver from that standpoint. Okay, so everybody agrees this thing is good, search, and they will document in the tool saying I need to create this screen, develop one screen. I'm gonna need a one stored procedure that can do the query for the search. So they will identify all the technical components. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about here? Technical components. Generally, when you are building a web page, right? Coding side of things.
Yeah.
Building a web page, you have to write HTML code. You have to, whatever technology they are writing in, it's a C# or Java. They have to build those different procedures within the code, C# or Java. There has to be a database component. There has to be a table that can store all that information. There has to be some SQL procedures that can read, execute whatever the user is typing here on the screen. Is when somebody clicks on it, right? It goes in the database, matches with that search string that you are typing, and then returning you the result. So that's the procedure, SQL procedure. So they will document all these components in the tool. It's called different task, development task. Okay, you as a QA will not do any development, but development team will come up with the task breakup. That's the terminology here, task breakup. It's based on the design. Okay, they will document what is that we need to build from the back end so that we can implement this feature or functionality. Okay, so that's the task breakup. And I'll show you where we document, where they document in the tool so that you understand. So task breakout happens, and then on next Tuesday, they will start coding. You as a tester or QA, you will start documenting your test cases because you know what exactly they are building. So you can start documenting your test case. Okay. Task breakout. So from that week to, let's say, Tuesday, week after. So 7 business days here, right? Developers are developing it, and you are writing your test cases and everything. And Tuesday, they will have a working software delivered to you in the test environment. So they are doing in the development environment. Tuesday, they will give you in the test environment so that you can start executing your test cases. The testing side of things. Remember, the test cases you documented, test scenarios, you all have to do all that work between Tuesday to next Tuesday. You have to document all those things. Okay?
For 1 week.
Yeah,
We just document for 1 week and then.
well, you might basically, because remember, Mondays, you are sitting in the same meeting, you clarified all the requirements, right? All the stories,
Right.
basically.
Right.
So everybody is on the same page. So you start documenting between Tuesday to next Tuesday. So you create all your test cases, create test scenarios. What is that you need to test here, essentially? So all your test cases, what you created on a piece of paper, right, or the Word document, you need to document in the tool itself.
Okay.
Okay, all this activity happens. Now I'm giving you a hypothetical scenario, Tuesday to Tuesday,
Tuesday.
but it could be Tuesday, you might be working on 4 different projects.
Right.
Okay, so you are not sitting around and saying, hey, I'm done on week 1 or day 1 and now I can go on vacation or something, come back on Tuesday. Remember, you are working on 4 different projects. Okay, so they will manage your workload. Because they understand how much work it is, right?
So documenting test and testing the software is a separate, different.
Well, you haven't done any testing yet.
Right.
All you did is test cases and test scenarios and those things. There is no testing, actual execution,
Right.
because you don't have working software. You cannot execute your test case until you have working software, which happens on Tuesday. Here in this scenario, in this case, Agile, what we are talking about.
Okay. Makes sense.
So Tuesday, as soon as you get the working software in the test environment, you will start executing and you might be done in Wednesday.
That's 2.
1 day, it depends on the number of test cases. It could be 1 day or 2 days.
Right.
You will do the execution. You might identify the defect, send it back to the developers, developer fix it. You come back and you retest, basically, whatever they fixed.
So testing done in 1 day and we can go for vacation or what?
No, remember, you execute the test cases, you identify defect. You document the defect, you hand it over to the developer, they'll come back and fix the code. You execute again on Wednesday.
Right.
If they still haven't fixed anything,
Oh, okay.
no. Somebody's calling you, there is no WhatsApp call. No. Right, so it happens over 1 or 2 days. Okay, but you have to finish the testing. The whole point of the sprint is to deliver something working software. Right, so that's why you are, as a team, you decided only 4 stories. You have to deliver that on Friday afterwards in production.
So if you finish on Wednesday, you have to deliver it in Friday, right? So.
No, your job is done on Wednesday.
Right.
Then who comes next? User. They have to test it.
Yeah, user acceptance.
You are done. That doesn't mean you are done, right? Where
Okay.
you work with the users, make sure they get the testing done. If they identify any defects, you work with the developers to get the defect fixed. You repeat the cycle.
Okay.
Right, you might have to do regression testing as well. Because it might impact previous sprint. Let's say they have changed some code that was developed in the previous sprint. You have to do regression testing. There is a lot of work in it. Okay. So Wednesday to Thursday, do you UAT as well, and everything is good, then you deploy to prod. Again, you cannot skip any step in the SDLC. Okay, you have to follow the steps, but you do it, only thing is that you do it within 2 weeks. Here, small piece of functionality.
Can we do, so are we gonna do smoke testing in production area after UAT?
Yeah, once you deploy to the UAT production, you have to do some smoke in the production. But you do smoke testing in the test environment. When developers give you new code in the testing environment, you have to do smoke test. You have to do regression test, you have to do system test, functionality test, all those things. Okay,
And I think they, I believe they do meet every morning too, right? Like-
Yes, yes,
What's the name of the meeting?
so it's called daily scrum meeting, this is the part.
Okay, it's-
So at 9 o'clock, because everybody is involved, right? What if you have a question for the business? You're not gonna ask them, you're not gonna wait. I mean, if you have urgent question, then you can just reach out to them. But otherwise, 9 o'clock generally in the companies, they have a daily meeting where business users are there. Whole development team is there, QA, everybody is part of the development team, so they all are there. And they clarify any questions. They also report the progress of the task.
Right.
What was done before?
What was done. So all these tasks we identified, they move it, and I think if you look at in the back, that's the kind of like a board they will typically have in the companies. Okay, so that's the kind of like a board, that's how we used to have it when companies didn't use the software. But if and they actually print out all the tasks and put it right on that board. So they will move it from which page it is in. In the tool, you can just do drag and drop of those things. Okay, we'll see that, what it is, how you can move the task, and how you can report the progress. But important thing is Scrum meeting, any issues or anything, not any issues. Typically Scrum meeting is 15 minutes only. Okay, you anything, this is less than 15 minutes only, okay? Not more than that. Report the progress and be done with it. Now, if you still have additional question, you set up a time with the users and basically clarify it. But otherwise 15 minutes is for reporting the progress. Where everybody is, who is doing what today, what they delivered yesterday, and so forth. So that everybody knows, are we on track to deliver the project? Okay, because they don't have formal project plans. Like as a waterfall type of project plans. Okay, so that's the daily Scrum meeting. Okay, now somebody, typically the PM is there in the waterfall world, who is managing all the schedules, resources and everything.
Okay.
But somebody has to do the similar activity if some issue arises. They need to reach out to maybe escalate some items. If some users are not showing up or something is not, there are some roadblocks to deliver within 2 weeks. This guy is responsible to clear the roadblocks. So they will reach out to whoever they need to clear the roadblocks for delivery within 2 weeks. So he's called Scrum Master. He's called Scrum Master. In the waterfall world, it's a project manager. Okay, similar activities, but Scrum Master might have 5 different projects they are working on, managing those sprints, just like QAs. Typically, developers are working on one project because they are focused on delivering the software.
Right.
QAs might have 2 to 3 projects easily. Same thing, Scrum Master might have 5 to 6 projects easily. They are managing. Okay. Okay, so so that part. So now finished work is basically delivered to the production, right? Now there are 2 more terminologies here: sprint review and a sprint retrospective in the Agile one. Okay. So sprint review is on Thursdays. Let's say you guys did your part, development team did the part. So they typically demo the software to the stakeholders. What they built over 2 weeks, what features they built. So that happens in the sprint review. They will demo the software and get the feedback. And the stakeholder might say, oh, we don't like this part. Let's change it up, or let's add another story to make it improve it. The search, the way it's working is fine, but I think we missed one piece of functionality. I think that's very helpful. Maybe we want to search on not last name, first name. We want to add search on something else as well. So they will create a user story and put it in the product backlog.
Won't that be changing the user story?
No, they will not change user stories. It's locked out. Okay,
what
so
will they change?
because if they change the user story, that remember, the design changes and they cannot deliver within 2 weeks.
Yes.
So what they will do is they will typically create a new user story and put it in the product backlog. In the next sprint, if it's very important to the business, they will pull it in the next sprint and then they will deliver. Okay. But they will not update the user story in the middle. Okay, they will never do that.
So in sprint review, they
Sprint review, yeah, well, they will identify the gap in the functionality and they will document it as part of the product backlog.
So how are the stakeholders different from the UAT?
The stakeholders are the folks like executive team, it can be anybody who is who has an interest in the software. UAT folks are very limited because stakeholders may or may not test it, the UAT side of things. But these guys are who has the money, who has a vested interest in the software. It could be marketing team, could be sales executive, all these different people who are not actual users of the system as well. UATs are generally done by the actual user of the system. So it's a subset.
So in the sprint review, the users, the business users would not be there. It's only the stakeholders, the developers, and the testers.
No. Sometimes users has to be there to provide the feedback. Right?
Okay.
So, but not all the users, some representative of the users, because you may not have more than like 5 or 7 people in the meeting. It could be they send somebody to represent them, or who is the key people. Let me put it there, key people.
Like simulation.
Yeah. They will send it in the meeting. Because everybody can't be there, right? It's a waste of time. So, because they have better things to do, they have actual business to conduct, right? That's what their focus is. So they will send maybe representative from each group to the sprint reviews. Okay. Now here, so that's a sprint review. Then there's a sprint retrospective. So here, what they do is it's a retrospection. What went wrong, what we did well as a team, they reflect on it. The reason they want to improve the next time, let's say they here at end of 2 weeks, the quality of the software wasn't good. So they figure out how can we improve that next time. Some feature they could not deliver. Maybe they deliver only 2 searches, but there was the third piece. User wasn't available for clarification, so they say, oh, we cannot deliver. So we have to create another story and put that in a backlog so that we can pull it in, basically, or have a defect open because we could not deliver the software. So they will reflect on the sprint activities and say, how can we improve this? Maybe we bring that user in the daily Scrum meeting so we can get the clarification, whatever the solution is, right? They will discuss as a team and come up with a way to improve it. That's the whole goal of the sprint retrospective. It also happens on the Fridays, last day. Sprint reviews generally happens 1 day before so that they can get the feedback, document the stories, and put in the backlog. But this happens on the last day of the sprint.
Question.
Yeah.
If they would find any major bug at the end of the sprint,
Yeah.
can they move into the next sprint?
Yeah, they will always keep on moving. They will document the bug. They will pull it in along with the stories because it has to be fixed. In order to have working software, then they will pull it in the sprint planning meeting, saying, oh, we gotta fix this bug, basically. So they will pull that in along with the couple of other stories.
When is going to be fixed? If they move it to the next sprint?
Next sprint, it will be fixed next sprint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If it's really important to the business, then to say, oh, we have to go to deliver whatever we have, we'll deliver and we'll pull that in.
So no matter what, they need to deliver something at the end of the sprint.
Yeah, that's the whole goal.
Okay.
That's the whole goal. But it has to be a quality. Now, if they, that's where it needs to identify here, retrospective. How can we avoid that type of mistakes? How can we improve that? That's as a team, they reflect on it and they will come up with a way to improve it. Because we all are humans, right? We all make mistakes. We don't want to make the repetitive mistake over and over again, right? I mean, same thing. So they figure out a way to improve it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think as a result of the kind of testing process it goes through, by the time it gets to the sprint review, I probably think most of the time, 9 out of 10, it probably wouldn't be something significant to fix.
No, sprint review is not about fixing it, right? It's about demoing the software to the business, get their feedback. So feature-wise, everything has to be done before the sprint review. UAT has to be complete before the sprint review. Now, when they actually see the software, they might say, oh, maybe we could have done this way instead of this way. So that's why, I mean, Agile process or project does not have end dates. Waterfall is, we gotta deliver within 6 months, this R-Flow project. Agile one can keep on going for years. Sometimes that's what happens in the companies, because users just keep changing their mind every time, and the project keeps on going, and they keep on putting the more money into the things. That's the drawback of Agile. Okay, because you don't have the requirements locked down. Remember, I can add anything in the, if I have 50 users, they keep on, this thing can grow like crazy. Everybody wants that something. Somebody has to prioritize it, right? What is that they want? So that's what business owner does, working with this guy. Hey, I got 50 requirement, but is that really important for you guys? And he works with these guys and say, oh, this is high priority, this is low priority. It may never get done. Low priority. Okay, so that thing happens on the side, product owner working with the users. Right? But yeah, I mean, it could happen, and it keeps on going. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So key terminology: product backlog, sprint backlog, right? What is sprint backlog? Then we have daily scrum meeting. Okay, 15 minutes meeting to report the progress and all those things. Each story, user stories, right? User stories, epic features, those are nothing but the documentation of the requirements, right? Feature is a higher level grouping of the module, similar to the module type of thing. Team, there is a development team, includes developers, business analysts, not business analysts listed separately here, product owner. But that could be QAs as well, and so forth. There is another role called Scrum Master, which is nothing but managing the issues, resolutions, roadblocks, removing the roadblocks for the team.
What again is the burn down chart?
Yeah, so this burn down chart is, so everybody reports the work, right, on a daily basis. I completed this thing, this task. So that whatever hours they allocated for each task. So let's say initially they had 40 or 80 hours worth of work. So as soon as they complete the task, move from one phase to another, the burn down chart should show the hours going down.
So
That's
say
what the,
daily scrum meeting is in the morning, and at the end of the day, everybody reports their hours.
yeah, reports the hours in the tool itself. So they say how many hours remaining for each task. Basically daily basis, that's what is reflected in the burn down chart. Okay.
That's
It's a kind of
every
a
day.
progress.
Every day thing.
Yeah, every day. Generally, by the end of the day, they say, let's say they originally estimated that in the task breakout, they originally estimated it's a 10-hour development task for implementing the search button functionality. But they identify, as they are developing it, they find out, oh no, it's gonna take me 20 hours. So they'll bump up the task. So burn down chart will be, it's never straight line like this. It might go up, go down, like that. If they say, oh, I even though I estimated as 10 hours, but now I completed in 4 hours or 5 hours. So the task will show it's going down, something like this.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the estimate, right? So it's estimated task, burn down chart will show the plot. Ultimately, everything has to be zero out by Friday.
Okay.
Right? Because if everybody is delivering the work, then everything should go smooth.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the important part is, right, sprint end date and team deliverable does not change. Okay. End date, we cannot say, oh, now we're gonna move the sprint to 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks. That doesn't happen. It's a fixed length, fixed time frame. And the deliverables, whatever you picked out in the sprint planning, you cannot add any more stories.
Okay.
So everybody's done with the task in like 5 days. We're not gonna say we're gonna pull more stories. You might work on some other technical activities or something to do that. But we will wait till next sprint to start.
So we'll have free time.
Well, if you're really good, if you overestimate, right, they'll figure it out, okay? If you if people are pulling in 3 stories here every week, if they are halfway through done, then they say, oh, you better pull 2 more stories.
Yeah, higher story.
So next spring, they will figure it out, okay?
They'll add more. Right.
Unless you're lying on burnout charts.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's a team, right? The whole idea here is a team is doing the work, running themselves. Nobody else is managing it, right? So that's how it works. So if you are done, then you are bad at your estimation. So next time you want to take in more work because you are overestimating something.
Yeah.
Tell them I finished already.
What?
Why would I tell them I finished already?
No, it's in the best interest of, I think, I'll tell you, it's the best interest for yourself to tell, like, okay, I finished early, let me take on
But
something
it's
else.
the team, so.
It's a tip.
So, when you input your work in a tools, right? Can everybody see it?
That's the whole goal, right? Because we are not talking about only QA doing the work, or it's a team.
So everybody can see. where
Everybody
you're at.
can see what the progress is, what the issues are, everybody can see.
Okay.
That's the whole goal, this ALM, it's a life cycle management tools. Azure DevOps, Jira, so that everybody can see it, access from anywhere in the world. Because execution might be done by somebody in India. Versus you are writing, your testers are sitting here, I mean, QAs are sitting here developing their test cases. That's what happens with the nationwide. They have a huge team who just nothing but execution in India. Because it's a labor work, right? Execution is most of the boring work. You will find it. Interesting part is how can I write these test cases? That's where you're gonna use your brain. And that's why they are paying you money for. Execution, they can hire anybody to do the work. They can have automation testing and all those things, so they can
They
minimize.
keep the burn-down charts forever or only for the project?
No, for the sprint only.
That's
For
the.
For the sprint.
Burn-down,
Once you have new sprint, you will have new burn down chart. Every 2 weeks, a new cycle.
and do they compare like who is performing consistently, who is?
They will know.
They'll keep all the burn-down charts and then.
I mean, depending on the complex work you are doing versus simpler work, and that guy is still taking 40 hours to do the simple task, then they will know who is doing the real work.
Everything.
So it's not like they, after the sprint is done, they delete.
It's everything is there. I can go back to the sprints, whatever I did earlier. Everything is historical. That's the advantage of keeping track in the tools, utilizing all these things. Okay, so let's dive into the actual things. Hopefully you guys understand this thing. Task, iteration, sprint or iteration, right? It's the same thing. Sprint, 2 week sprint, 2 weeks iteration. You might hear that term. One more thing is a scrum board or storyboard. So all this product backlogs, right? And the sprint backlog. Important is sprint backlog. You can see all the things, what you pull in. So kind of like that thing on the board, we have it in the back, right? It's a storyboard. Whatever we are working on. So, and I'll show you in the tool what it looks like. Backlog, I think we got it, task, yep. And finally, definition of done. This is very important,
Yeah.
okay? So when we say a story is complete, we implement it fully, right? So everybody has their own definition of done, depending on how they want to say sprint is done. So a lot of companies, they say, okay, when the UAT is done, we will call it as done. We will not deploy to the production. We'll wait for a future date to actually deploy. We'll pick out a date and deploy all the work together, basically, instead of deploying every week. Companies like Facebook, Microsoft, they deploy almost like hourly basis
Yeah.
and those things. But companies like Nationwide, they might say, oh, no, we will pick on maybe end of the month, every month. So we'll deploy 2 sprint worth of work to the production. So that's what the definition of done is.
Okay.
Also, the definition of done for the story, it ties to that. So the UAT is complete, story is done at that point.
Okay.
Done
Okay.
changes for every company. no?
Yeah, it changes it. So
What-
generally team works with the executive stakeholders and come up with the definition of done. what it means to be done.
Can you talk about that tools as a tool? I think,
This one?
yeah, those neon rain and,
No, this is the one slide, I don't know where it came from. Some neon rain company or whatever, it's not a tool, I don't know what it is. It's from the Google somewhere,
Oh, okay.
but I thought this is a good slide to talk about it, as a class, so.
That's just a watermark or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
give them a credit for building a slide,
Right.
we just, utilize it.
Hey, it's important to have.
Yeah.
It's important for learning, we'll use it, right? Anything free, it's free. They never said it's a copyrighted, so, yeah. Okay, all right, so let's actually dive into the actual work.